Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about what is mindfulness and how to be mindful every single day. But before we jump into that, I do want to, as always, invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM, especially if you have any questions or comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, all of those things, or you just want to say hi to me and connect, I would really, really love to hear from you. You are also welcome to send me an email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com, and all of that information is available for you down in the show notes, as well as notes to follow along in the show. So that's all on that, and let's just jump into our topic, which is what is mindfulness and how to be mindful every single day. So when you are in search of mental health support these days, a lot of us will go online, go to Google, go to a podcast, go to a book, whatever it is. Many people will talk about being more mindful and establishing that as like an everyday practice in your life. You know that I've talked about it many times, and I believe it 110%, that other people, if you are seeking that kind of support and direction, someone else has said like, do mindfulness, like practice mindfulness. And it's pretty simple, and it feels self-explanatory, but I also feel like it's one of those weird things, that a lot of people could not understand exactly what it means. So, it's like you're asking, but what does it actually mean to be mindful when people are making that suggestion? So let me fill you in on that, especially since I talk about it all the time, and I think it's super important to incorporate it in our lives. I definitely want everyone to just kind of have an idea of what that is and how to practice it. So the way that I think about mindfulness is the practice of being as present as you can in life. And when you think of being present, you think of actually, being there in the moments that you are currently enduring and enjoying. And I say enduring because not all moments are like sunshine and rainbows and puppies, right? Some moments are hard, and some moments are like not as hard, and some moments are great. So, you're enduring and you're enjoying, but it's important to be present for all, be there, be present, be awake, and be taking it all in. Being present and being aware of how you're feeling, i.e., see self-awareness, which is also something that I talk about a lot. And, being present and being aware of how you're feeling and how your emotions are rolling in and out and all around the town, you become more self-aware. You understand yourself better. You have this actual close relationship with yourself. And so once you do that, you're able to better tackle topics of needing to be more confident, needing to work on your self-worth, needing to work on your self-esteem, because you understand what's going on with you and you can make changes as necessary. So, being present, being aware of how you're feeling and how those emotions are impacting your responses and your reactions. And recently here on the show, we did talk about responses and reactions. It's really important to understand that. And we're going to talk about that more when I dive into the tips on how to be more mindful every day. So don't worry if you're like, those sound like the same thing. We'll break it down really quick. But also being able to check in with yourself and determine if you're overwhelmed or not, right? And that might sound super simple, but if you find that simple and silly, I ask you to ask yourself, have there been many times where that would have helped? It would have helped me to be like, am I overwhelmed right now? Yes. Or am I overwhelmed right now? No. Good. And then you can kind of gauge what you should do next and whether you can take on more or not, because I feel like a lot of us take on more without actually, checking in with ourselves and seeing if we can handle more. We just assume that we can or feel like we have to and just move forward. So, it's a way to not let yourself drown in everything the world throws at us on a daily basis, right? Checking in with yourself. Mindfulness is also, I definitely wanted to mention this because I know when you take the time to do your own research, you'll be like, why didn't you talk about this? So mindfulness is also considered a form of meditation, which can be helpful to some, but not everyone. Not everyone. I have tried meditation many times. I'm sure I'll try it many times again in the future. I struggle with it. And, meditation for me is it's just not fun. Like a traditional thought of meditation is just, it's not fun for me. I prefer, which you might be like, that's the same, Sabrina, but to me it's not, is prayer time, where it is quiet prayer time, speaking to God, really asking questions, and also sitting and waiting for a response or whatever is going to happen. And so that I can do. But meditation where it's fine. So if you do meditation, it's great. You can practice mindfulness in different types of meditation. So I'd encourage you, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and look into it. But I want you to know that it can be both. Mindfulness can be both meditation and like a mind exercise, which I find super amazing. So being present, getting back to that, in our everyday lives is so integral to actually enjoying our lives, right? And making the most of our time on this earth, which I know might sound cheesy to you, but think about it. Like, really stop and think about it. Think about how you watch the news. Or maybe you don't, which is fine. I don't really watch the news either. I get my news like online and read it, or through like reputable social media channels, like just a couple people that report the news non-biasedly, right? So, but on the news or anywhere that you get your news, or even in social media, like, you will find out that someone has passed away all too soon, or on Twitter or on whatever social media that you prefer. And you'll be like, dang, I can't believe that they are gone and they were this young or this old, or they didn't get to do this, that, and the other. But I feel like we never really think about that on ourselves, which you might feel like that's super negative or that's not fun. It's not fun, but I think it's a practical exercise for us to really consider, wow, are we making the most of our lives? And I'm not saying that you have to jump out here and do all the things and really like push everything to the limit. No, just really consider, like, are you making the most of your life? Are you doing the things you want to do? Are you allowing, fear of like judgment and failure and your own like mental health struggles? And I get all of this. I understand all of this. But if you're letting all of that hold you back from these desires that you want to go after in your life, and you're not doing anything about it to progress forward and get help with those things, then what are you doing, right? I'd want to encourage you. I want to pump you up. I want to be your hype train to let you know that we need to be present. We need to be enjoying our lives. We need to be making the most of our time here, because it's a gift, right? Because think about all the people that are no longer here, regardless of how they have left this earth, whether it was, someone else is doing, no one's doing, like a disease or something, or it was their own doing. It doesn't matter. It's important for us to really just do our most and really love it. And yeah, of course, there's going to be hard times. There's going to be times where we like don't quite enjoy those parts. But that's where you build your strength and your resilience, which is also important for you to continue to move through and enjoy your life, right? Okay, so being present in every day, so integral, right? We spend so much time worrying about the future and regretting the past that it leaves barely any time for enjoying the now, right? Really think about it. Like, think about the percentages of like you worrying about the future, which I can say for me is a lot. It's like 50%, like, what's going to happen? My anxiety rises and I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And then spending all that time, thinking about past regrets and things that happened and didn't work out in the past and what you could have done, this, that, and the other. 2020 is hindsight. And are you like, okay, well, that takes 40%. And then there's 10% left for you to actually like enjoy your day, enjoy your right now, really live in the moment. It's not enough, right? It's not enough. And if this is like, you're like, how could I not worry that much? And how could I not really like sit in that sadness, that brokenness, that disappointment? How could I not do all those things, Sabrina? How could I spend less time doing those things and more time, being present and enjoying it? Well, you have to make the choice to do that. I know that's tough. You got to make the choice, because you can't really move forward with any steps, even the steps that I'm going to give you on how to be mindful every single day, until you make the choice. You have to choose. And someone can't choose for you. Okay. Something I've talked about a lot in the past is how we want to help other people, but we cannot help others until they help themselves. They have to make that decision. And so this is the same. You have to make that decision before anyone can help you, before any progress can be made. So just understand that, okay? You can't like fake it either. And you might try to fake it in the beginning, but you realize that that really won't work either. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry, but it won't. So that leaves no time, and thinking about how much time we spend worrying about the future and ruminating over the past, it's too bad that we're not enjoying the now because we work really hard to be where we are right now, and don't even take the time to enjoy it, right? Like what's the point? What are we doing here? Why are we like pushing ourselves so hard to be these really great people? Why are we trying to be the best and the most if we're not even going to enjoy the fruits of that labor? These are all questions I encourage you to ask yourself, because if you don't, then it feels a lot like all for nothing. When are you going to catch your breath? When are you going to focus on the positives and stop really digging your heels into the negative all the time? I'm not saying you have to be positive all the time. Absolutely, 110%. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it should kind of at least outweigh the negative, even if it's like 54 to 46%. So it's just my encouragement to you. You gotta enjoy what's happening right now. And I want you to know that it's not wrong to think about the future and consider what you can learn from the past. Of course not. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. Mistakes and failures are some of the best teachers in our lives. But there should be a limit to these activities, because there is only so much you can do on either side that will matter and make a difference. Think about it. Like, there's only so much worrying about the future, and there's only so much ruminating about the past that we can do. And a lot of that all is like in vain. It's not really going to change anything, especially the past. The way to change the past is to not change it and just glean those lessons from that experience and take them with you in the future so you don't make them again, or you do a better job at sidestepping as much, because failures and mistakes should not be avoided. You will miss out on learning some of the biggest lessons ever. So we need to limit these activities of worrying about the future and ruminating about the past. We don't know how life is going to turn out day to day. We think we do. We think we do because we plan everything out, but we don't, right? Or whether a past mistake or failure will affect us as much as we think in the future. That's something that, we think about as well, and we worry about. It's like, how is this going to affect every single thing that happens to me for the rest of my life? And it might not actually be that bad. I feel like a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's not. Be honest with yourself. A lot of times it's not. So we need to give ourselves a break, right? And what better way to take a break by enjoying what's happening today, this week, this month. And it's okay to be excited for the future and be comforted by the past. But again, it's right now, it's just so glorious. It's amazing. So it maybe doesn't feel that way because you haven't taken the time to really enjoy it. You know what I mean? So, all of this is why I wanted to go over some ways you can incorporate mindfulness into your everyday life. Now that we kind of understand what it's about, let's get into it. So I have 6 suggestions for you, and I hope these are super helpful. So the first one is something I talk about all the time. Oh man, accept and honor the different emotions that come through you, that just wash through you. okay? You don't need to fixate on one emotion or all of them, right? I feel like we do that. We're like, oh, we're really upset today because one small thing happened this morning that upset you. Or you're like, oh, I'm upset, but I'm happy, but I'm sad, but I'm confused. And you're having to feel like you have to, highlight every single one. You need to honor and accept them, but it doesn't mean every single one is like in dire need of being deep dived into, right? So understand that your feelings will change as the day progresses, and that's healthy. That's okay. That's acceptable, right? Some people might tell you it's not. It is. It is. A lot of us, most of us, go through waves of emotions, and it's okay. Just let those things wash upon you. Accept that they're there. Don't try to deny them, and then honor them. But it doesn't mean that you need to act on them, right? That is like that balance there. Accept them, honor them. Doesn't mean you need to react to them. You really need to assess the situation every time. If you feel like an action needs to happen, maybe not. Maybe, but maybe not. So, yeah, that's how you can be mindful, because you are actually like accepting and realizing I'm having this feeling right now. And that's okay. I'm not going to try to stuff it down or pretend like it's not happening, unless you're in a situation where you can't really be like, have like a quick little angry moment. I get it. We live in real life. But you know what I mean? So accept and honor those different emotions because they're healthy. They're healthy and we should all be doing it. And it'll make you better and more mindful of like the emotions that you're feeling every day and seeing if there's like a trend. And if something needs to be worked on to help break that trend if it's not positive and helpful to you. Okay, number 2, choose to respond instead of react. We've talked about this recently, and I talked about this at the top of the show, where it's important, really, to make sure that you are responding instead of reacting. So you might feel like these are the same things, Sabrina. What are you talking about? So responding is kind of an action, but really what we're talking about here is when you react, you are allowing your emotions to take control of you and choose what you're going to do in that situation, in that experience, which a lot of times turns out negatively or with regret, or not the way that you would have done it if you had taken just like a quick 15 seconds, 30 seconds to assess the situation. So responding is being mindful, taking a breath, taking a beat, taking a moment to really be like, okay, should I scream back at this person? Should I slap them in the face? Or should I just take a deep breath? And then respond, say, I don't appreciate that, or that wasn't nice, or maybe you don't say anything at all. Maybe you just walk away, because that is the best option. That is the option that will cause the least amount of damage, right? So choosing to respond instead of react, you're not letting your emotions take control of you and push you over the edge more than you need to. Responding, you're thoughtfully considering what is the best thing to do in this situation. Number 3, make sure you are going through life at a manageable pace. Amazing. I think I need to do a whole episode talking about this, because it's amazing that I'd never really thought deeply on this concept of taking life at a manageable pace, because I feel like a lot of us don't. But a lot of us do. And I feel like that changes with our season of life, because different things are happening and require a different amount of tension and hustle and all of these things. But make sure that you're going through life at a manageable pace. Overloading yourself with like too much can cause a lot of distraction and not allow you to enjoy the present as well, which is important, right? We've highlighted that a million times. Present, present, present. So if you are trying to zoom through life, just get it all done really quick because you want to get to that end. You want to get to the finish line of whatever that goal is that you are trying to accomplish. But, there are so many things that are going to happen along the way. There's so many things you can enjoy and love and cherish and learn from. There's so many bumps in the road that will come up that you really need to address and take the time to address them appropriately. It's important for us to not just try to go so fast or even so slow, right? We don't want to be going at a snail's pace. We don't want to be going so slow because of this heavy, burdensome fear that we live in the shadow of, right? Because then you'll miss out on some things. You'll feel left behind, which you're not, because, whatever pace you end up going at, you'll get to where you're going, just maybe not when. And it might cause more trouble. I don't know, more hardship, more lessons learned. But it's important to realize you don't need to go super fast. You don't need to go super slow. And you also don't need to overload yourself to do more. You don't have to prove that you are like that super person, super mom, super dad, super girl, super boy, whatever. And you have to impress other people with how many things you can do and know that you're doing the most. But if you're doing the most, but you're not able to actually do it well, then what are you doing, right? So it's important to really realize, okay, am I going at a manageable pace? Okay, what do I need to give up? Or what do I need to ask for help with, right? Help. We need to be asking for help more. And what more do I need to be doing? Because I am not doing enough, yet complaining that I'm not going to, accomplish my goals. So just something to really ask yourself, because again, if you're not going at a manageable pace, then how are you supposed to build in the time to enjoy life right now, as it is? Number 4, let go of the need to control everything. This is so tough. For me, I am a control freak. I've gotten better, but there are a lot of things that I just, I forgot about. And I'm trying not to, because I know that even if something goes sideways, and I knew how to not make it go sideways, it can still work out. It can still be okay. Things are not going to go up in flames. You're not going to be that meme of I think it was a dog sitting at a table where everything's on fire around them and they're like, I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. No, it could be just fine. It could actually be fine. It could be okay. It could be acceptable, right? And the problem with wanting to control everything is because you think you can control everything with the few things you can control, and it really inflates this mindset that we have that power to control everything, when that's not true. It's just the couple of things that we do manage to control really what would be the word? Fakes us or tricks us into believing that we can control everything when we can't. And it really just pushes us to have more frustration and be upset that we can't, and thinking we could. So we immediately think we're failures. We think that we made a mistake. We think that we're not doing it right. And it's all a facade. So let go of the need to control everything, because life will be easier, a little bit breezier, maybe not as perfect as you want it to be, but let's also remember that perfect doesn't exist. And you can help people guide in the way that you believe it should go. Collaboration is amazing, but it's so much stress and work to think that you can control everything. And for what, right? Don't you want to take a break? Don't you want to take a breath? Don't you want to just enjoy it? Sit back? Be along for the ride a little bit? Sounds better. Sounds more worth it. Number 5, practice being grateful for the big things and the small things. There used to be a thing that I would do at the top of every single episode, but I kind of realized based on data that a lot of people would not listen to that, or they'd skip over it because they would listen to the show back when the show was 5 days a week, and they would hear it every day, and it's it was unnecessary for them, right? Because they're like, I know what she's going to say. It doesn't apply to me today or ever or whatever. But I would talk about doing the 5-minute reset, which was to take at least 5 minutes out of your day, if your day is getting kind of off track, and recenter yourself with gratitude, with a moment of gratitude, and to honor your feelings, and to really come up with, the main point of it was to come up with a list of at least 5 things that you were grateful for, big, small, or medium size, because I feel like we spend a lot of time thinking about things that we are grateful for that are huge, like food in our stomach, money in our bank account, roof over our head, heat in our home, right? But we need to spend more time also being grateful for the small things, being grateful that someone opened the door for us today at the coffee shop on our way to work, or grateful that, we almost got in a car accident, but we didn't. And that's good, because regardless of whether you get a new car or not, it's not your fault. It's still crap you have to deal with. What another thing would be? I immediately thought of car accident, and then it like reminded me of the one that I was in recently. It was teeny tiny, and then like think about, wow, you were able to order that thing on Amazon and it came like the next day, or more medium-sized thing. Maybe you're grateful that you got to spend time with your friend this week, or you called them on the phone, or you got like a birthday card in the mail, or whatever it is. And just be grateful for these little tiny things, these medium-sized things, and these really big things. And practicing that each and every day will really help you to recenter yourself and focus and really be mindful of how everything is not terrible. There are so many amazing things. I think that's a thing that a pit of despair that we fall into rather easily, is to believe that, everything is bad when one thing is bad. Well, it's just not true. It just means that one thing is bad and there's all these other really good things still happening. But the bad things overshadow the good things so easily. So that's why we need to be more mindful about understanding that everything is temporary, but there are still so many things to be grateful for, despite this really tough thing that might be happening for you. Okay, so number 6, which is the last one, which is a good one, and one that I have done a whole episode about. So if you want to learn more about this, I would go back into the archives and check it out. But number 6 is become a better listener. Specifically, work on your active listening skills, because you might be missing what the people in your life are talking about, wanting to share with you, wanting to connect with you about. And I understand there's going to be people in our lives that we would rather tune out and pretend like we're listening and not really. But I do think it would be helpful for us to better understand people in the relationships that we're in with these people, if we become a better listener, which means to be an active listener, which means that you are actively listening to them as they speak. You are not in the process of already coming up with how you're going to respond while they're still speaking, because how can you already come up with a response if they're still telling you about whatever it is? And yes, you might be like, Sabrina, I know what they're going to say, right? Because they said it to me before, or I just know, or I have a feeling, or I know them really well, whatever. Okay, sure. There's going to be moments where that's true, but there's going to be a lot of moments where it's not true. And if you get into the bad habit of already coming up with a response, then you might fall into the habit of interrupting people while they're talking. And then that's really annoying. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves, right? And it's the worst, because when you're trying to tell someone something and they interrupt you and you're like, why? Because you're not interrupting them. Why do they feel the need to interrupt you? Or you think you know how it's going to go, and there is a twist at the end of whatever you were talking about. So just consider being an active listener, actually listening, understanding what they're saying, asking follow-up questions, and then asking for a moment, if you need it, to come up with your response at the end of them talking. It's easy. It takes practice. If you don't have that skill, it's totally fine. It's one that everyone can learn and adapt. And it's so helpful, especially in relationships. But it will help you become more mindful, because you're actually understanding like people around you and in your life, and maybe learning new things, good or bad. But that is all 6 suggestions that I have for you on how to become mindful in your everyday life. I really hope that it's been helpful. And I really hope it's been helpful just kind of like reviewing what mindfulness is and how that applies to us. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. I appreciate every single one of you. Do not forget, come say hi to me on Instagram at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or send me an email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I cannot wait to hear from you. Again, all of the information is in the show notes below, as well as notes for the show. So until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.